Welcome back to my shop. I'm going to attempt to make my first segmented bowl using Woodworker Pro to assist my design process. This is the design that I'll be making in this video. I'll be using the wedgie sled, the flipper, and the stomper. I'll show you my stop for my bandsaw wedgie sled and also my wedgie sled on the bandsaw, plus the same items on the table saw with the flipper to clear the wedges. I'll put references down below for you to get instructions on how to make your own. Then to cutting wood for the project, planing the boards, cutting into strips, and assembling each ring and gluing up the rings on my stomper that I made. And I'll finish up by turning the bowl on the lathe. Hope you like this video. Enjoy. I've got to mount the faceplate onto the base block so that when I put my disc on there, which I still have to cut out, it'll be fairly centered, and then I'll throw it on the lathe to clean it up like I did this one. So, and I've been told I got a pretty good eye. I can see close enough to the center where it'll work, and then once I put it on the lathe, it'll clean it up good. We'll just drop that on the lathe, we'll true it up, and it'll be all set to put my base plate on. What I'm going to do is to cut the circle just on the bandsaw. I've already found the center on both sides so that when I put it on the lathe, I'll put the center right there and then mount it against those bases that I made. What I've got is the two bases, rough cut for the circles, and I'll go over to the lathe and mount these onto the bases that I just finished. I'm all set up. I'm going to turn this down. Just wanted to show you my new apron. Just got it from Rockler. The neck keeps all that sawdust from going into your shirt and everywhere else. So I love it. It's first time I've used it, but it'll get dirty. Don't worry. Put my mask on, my face shield. So I'm going to let that sit. After supper, maybe I'll come up and put the other one on. We'll let that set for a while. See what happens. I love this thing. I'm back out here. It's been, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm just going to round that off. What I'm going to do is put the center hole, because I'm going to use the stomper. So I'm going to mark or put a center hole here so that when I put it on the stomper, it'll just float down. Hopefully that's good. Should be all set with that. We got to take the fuzzies off of these things. So We got to make sure that they're fairly clean. Hate the fuzzies. After a few adjustments on the edges of a couple of these, we're ready to glue it up. Work our way around the edges. I'm going to put glue on both sides because I just want to make sure everything is put together tight. And I've also marked the top of these so that I know to make sure to put them right side up because that's the way they fit together best. I'm all set to cut the small pieces with the wedgie on my bandsaw, but I noticed even with the clamp here that this piece has a tendency to move. I've got a magnet under it and the clamp, but if I bump that, that's going to throw everything off. So what I'm going to do is put a brace underneath this section. It's going to be just a slight piece of wood, probably 3/4 inch piece of wood here, and then I can clamp it from the bottom. First I'll take this apart, show you how it's put together. Just a spin knob, little washer in there, and then I've got a pin. These are to raise it up because my board is thicker. My wedgie sled is thicker than this, so I had to prop it up a little bit so this would be able to slide over it without catching anything. So what I have to do is to put a block of wood here. You can see there's a magnet underneath it, and this is the pin, goes through, and just a small dowel to slide in the track that I've made. And I put a nice square edge on there so that when you touch it, any part of it would be even without having any angles. So that's how that works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a little piece of wood and mount it on the back. I'll just glue it and maybe put a screw in it after the glue dries. So I've cut this little block and I'm just going to glue it on here just so that we'll have that square edge. We can put a hand clamp on it. And you can see the magnet, the bolt through it. We'll put this on. I've marked the edge of it so that it's square. And we'll just put this on here. Now the magnet works pretty good, except that it's just not strong enough because I've got it inset just a hair so that it won't ride on the metal of the table on my bandsaw there. Oh, can't get it apart with the magnet. So that's going to set up, and then what I can do is just put a couple screws in here just to verify, just to make sure that it doesn't slip or break off. That could be the worst thing, having it break off. So we'll just let that set for a little bit. Yep. We'll put our 2 screws in there. Should be set up good enough. This way the block won't move. We'll have a perfect alignment each time. Put this all back together. Ready to put it in there with our block underneath it. Put a clamp on that, won't move. I'm going to be cutting this small piece, but this line is our bandsaw blade line, and I've set it for 1 3/4 of an inch. We'll do a test cut. We'll put this clamp on just so it's not going to move. Now it's solid. Okay, let me do a test cut. Pretty darn close. All the fuzzies don't help at all. So even the little ones, you have to get the fuzzies off. So just a little wipe on them. That's all it takes. Get all that stuff off, and then you can put them together. Match them up. This is the fun part, where all this time-consuming stuff that we do. People who haven't done this don't realize the amount of work that goes into just making one little bowl. So we show them. All done. Now we have 12 pieces all ready to be put together. I've got to cut little strips that are going to go in between each one. I'm thinking, because I'm using dark wood too, this is just a hair off color from the dark and the light, right in between, so it should work out pretty good. So I reset the angle. It's flush here, so that should give us a rough 90 degrees. I've measured out and reset our stop. And all we have to do now is to cut 12 pieces like that. 12 pieces. So we're going to glue this up. I've got a little Lazy Susan here. And hopefully I can get the rubber bands on after without messing up the whole thing. So we'll give this a shot. What I'm doing here is to flatten one side. I put some pencil marks on. I got it pretty well flattened. So you have to keep the thing flat and keep moving it. Otherwise you'll get one side heavier than the other. So we have to do this. We have to do this on all the pieces here. We've got a stack to do. So this one's coming pretty good. We'll do a little bit more on this and then move to the next one. And then when we finish them all, then we can start putting them together. What I do, I'll put this, well, this isn't the first one, but once I get it mounted on the base, then that side will be smooth, and then I'll put it on the lathe and smooth this side. A little simpler. This way they're not cocked a little bit. Okay, so we're going to put the base onto the first ring using the stomper. Now, you saw me build the stomper in a previous video, so now we're going to use it to put this together. I put that little indent in there, fits over the top, sort of just floats there. I'm going to put this down, well, actually, first we're going to close this up, center the first ring. I've already put it down there. I've marked a circle where I want to put the glue. And actually I should probably, oh, I did before. I put a marking in here and I've got that marked. So we're going to put the glue on now. Now what we got is a 5-pound weight on here. We've glued both surfaces and we're going to let that set up for a while. This way here, when we're ready to clean it up on the lathe, everything will be nice and firm. Okay, I've got this flattened out. I've marked where the glue goes on the outside. I've got this in the Longworth chuck, and I've marked a spot where I'm going to center one of these wedges. So now I just have to glue and then push this in with my weight onto the other piece. There. Okay, so we've lined up the wedge. We're doing bricklayer brick pattern here, every other space here, and so that's set in place. We're going to let that set, and then we'll bring it back to the lathe, trim up the outside, maybe trim a little on the inside, we'll see, and then we'll put on the third ring, which would be this one here. We've got one side already sanded, and that'll be next. So I've got this all sanded to 400, and what I'm going to do is to use a polyurethane on it. I'm not much for, I don't know much about finishes and stuff like that. I've really got to read up on it. But it's ready, it's 400 grit to it, so I'm going to just wipe on the polyurethane. I've got a little tray here that I use to catch all the crap. So here goes. Okay, so that's that. Inside, outside, and we'll sand it with 400 grit, and then put another coat on, maybe 2 coats more. I've got 3 coats of polyurethane on the inside, the outside. It's still connected at the bottom, so I'm just going to brush this up with the Scotch-Brite, and we'll go ahead and take that block off the bottom. Well, That's nice. Very smooth. 3 coats of poly. I'm going to be taking the bottom off of this. I've got a little thing that I made up here to slide inside, and what I use is rubber bands to hold that in place. Go from one side to the other. One side to the other. Okay, so now I've got this parting tool rest set up so that I can go at a 90-degree angle into the block here, and we'll just cut that off right now. Okay, that's all done. Now we just take it apart and do the bottom. I've got a little more to sand on the bottom, and then I'll put my brand on it, and then we'll have to put polyurethane on the bottom here like we did on the sides. So I've got my stamp on there, and I have a first coat of polyurethane on there. Not too bad for a first try. Put another 2 coats of poly on the bottom, and I'll be all finished with it. Just wanted to show you a few things that have helped me with my wedges. I've got the flipper with a 0 insert in my table saw. I've got the wedgie sled, which operates the flipper. And as you know, with the wedgie sled, you set it up for the number of degrees. You put your board on the blade side each time without flipping the board. You run it through and it flips it out of the way. You run it through again the other way, get it out of the way. I've got this one set up for 30 degrees or 12 wedges. I also have made a stop. Has a magnet on it. It'll move a little bit, but it's not going to move during your normal operations. You can run it up. This point here is 0 to the blade, and as you come out you measure inside here to get your distance from the blade. Like I say, this is 0 on the blade, so when you run it through, that's a 0 mark. Measure this and you can go out to, I'd give or take 2.5 inches, but it's set up, set it to where you want it, clamp it down. This is a simple one. I'll take it apart for you real quick. This is mounted on the block. The way I have it set up is I have a magnet here. It's inset just a 32nd of an inch, just so it won't scrape on the table. I have my track, and then I have my pin to put the wing nut on. So these are the things that help you if you're building wedges for a bowl. This will help you to measure accurately, and you get the whole setup right here. The flapper, the wedgie sled, Now I've made the wedgie sled with 2 slides so that if I want to change the angle, I can go anywhere I want with the angle just by sliding it up and down. And the 2 tracks make it so that you have enough space in between, because a lot of people I've seen have that, they're very close, they had to put a notch here. Well, with this design, you can put it far enough away so you can have a real wide board in there. And you just line them up to the wedge, clamp it down, and you're in business. Here's the Woodworker Pro design and the finished product. My wife decided it was so nice that she claimed it for herself, so it will have a place of honor in our home. Hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment if you'd like. Thanks for watching.